How has the game changed for screenwriters to break into the business, say from 20 years prior, or is everything still the same? The fundamentals are still the same.
I would say that the fundamentals are the same. Now, yeah, there are some specific differences, but fundamentally it has always been, quote, impossible to break in as a screenwriter. It's because how many films are made a year? Mainstream Hollywood makes maybe 300 to 500 films a year, and it's going down. It's actually, since the recession of '08, it's gotten worse. One of the specific ways that it has changed for the worse is the fact that since that time, development money has essentially disappeared. Nobody wants to develop anymore. Now, it used to be that a writer could make a living, could sustain themselves, and therefore continue to practice the craft and get better through just development work. They have a good script, maybe it gets optioned a few times, it's a calling card for them to get work for hire. That's now much more difficult. One of the things that I always have a big problem with is these pitch festivals, because they promise people, oh, you're going to pitch to these executives and maybe, of course everybody thinks, yeah, that'll be me, get the deal. Well, this is absurd. It doesn't happen. Since '08, not even the top screenwriters are getting deals off of pitches because there's no development money. It's all about, it's either on the page in a script or it doesn't exist, right? Oh, that sounds like a great idea. Let me see the script. And especially if you're not one of the 20 or so top working screenwriters, you're not going to get a deal with a pitch. They don't even know if you can write a script or not. So these, unfortunately, are some of the negatives that have become more negative over the years. Now, on the other side, and again, something that really hasn't changed, it's all about, is it on the page? One of the advantages that we have as writers over actors is that we don't have to audition in person, right? They don't have to reject us personally, right? It can be on the page. I can be writing on Mars. If it's on the page, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you look like, right? If it's on the page and it's a good script, I want it. And this is another reason why it's so important to prove yourself on the page, to prove that you've got the craft. And I always tell writers, if you have a script that is rejected, it isn't necessarily rejected because the quality of writing wasn't there. Most of the time it is rejected because that producer simply didn't like that story idea, didn't feel that it was a commercial idea for what they wanted to try to sell. You can't, as the writer, you can't have any control over that. The only thing you have control over is the quality of writing on the page. If you do your job and master the craft so that you get that quality on the page, at some point you will break through. I believe that 20 years ago, I believe it now. And again, for most writers, they think that they've done that craft work when they really haven't.
So should people set aside a fund for Pitch Fest or avoid them entirely?
I personally think that it's a waste of money, and I would avoid them entirely. The one possible advantage that you can get there is that someone who has heard your pitch will agree to read the script. But again, it's very important for writers to understand when you go to a pitch festival, it's not about selling that idea. You will not sell that idea. It's all about getting the door open so that they will read your script. Because most people, when they go to these pitch festivals, don't have an agent. So they can't send their script in. But that means that before you go to any pitch festival, you better have a great script that you have written so that when the person says, I like that idea, I'd like to see what you have, that you have a script to give them that will show off your work as a writer. Because the only thing that matters is a completed script with the qualities on the page.
Should someone be worried that someone might steal their idea?
No. That's the most overrated fear of writers. Nobody cares about that. It's too much work to go from an idea to a really good script for anybody. Now, do ideas get stolen? Yes, they do. But most of the time, they're ideas that are in the air that, people grab at, and different people come up with them at different times. But again, this emphasis on ideas and the idea that you can sell an idea, that I'll just be an idea man and I'll make a really nice living selling story ideas, is total nonsense.